what are some symptoms of a very bad infection of parasite?
Mm, cancer. That's what it leads to ultimately. But no, it's everything. I mean, the big three, most that everyone sees but don't realize it's parasites is pain, mucus, and inflammation. Whenever you see one of those, parasites are involved. You know whether you see them or not. See, they're masterful. They've had billions of years to learn to hide from the host because they know when the host sees them, they're going to get killed. So they have really gone to extremes on staying hidden, even in overgrowth phase. It's hard to detect them. Just seeing you have to read the code. That's usually it's on our skin. A lot of it, the everything going on inside our body is manifested in some information on the skin.
Mm-hmm.
We know that, and that's why creams a lot of times don't just work for these things because it's not the surface thing. It's actually what's going on inside.
Exactly. Can you tell me about how many different types of parasites in the body?
Yeah. Yeah, the medical system was told in 1950 there's 50 different parasites that we can have here in America. It's around 1950, but 50-50, it's like 50 that's how I remember this. So what it is, it might have been 52. 52 is when a lot of shit happened. So they told them there's these 50 parasites and they've got their instructions, like on their stool test, this is what you look for these 50 parasites. So you could send them another parasite in there that's not on that list and they aren't going to see it. They don't have to see it, and they can't if they follow the procedure. There's actually over 1,000, that have been identified, and I think there's even more than that, way more than that, of things that are actually parasitizing people now that have traditionally not parasitized people. Flukes, which is one of the flatworms, or whatever that infest people, and actually are some of the most deadly. They're responsible for liver cancer and pancreatic cancer. These things came from the reason that they're so weird. It takes a lot to kill them. In fact, the only thing that can really kill them is triclobenzidol, and that wasn't even available in this country for like 20 years. They just recently made it available. The FDA, in their wisdom, made it available again, like 2 or 3, maybe 4 years ago. But yeah, that's what causes all the damn diabetes and stuff. You wouldn't have all the diabetes if it weren't for these. But these parasites is theorized, or anyway, I got from a good source, remain nameless, that these things are actually sea slugs. They come from the bottom of the ocean and they're shot up. Whenever we have the volcano or something that shoots up from the bottom. Actually, it's what's coming soon, but I won't go into that. But yeah, the whole ridge will pull apart and then all that water will shoot up and everything on the bottom gets shot up onto the land. They think that that's how they got here, but what they're doing is they are finding a suitable environment in the body. And it's so weird too, because this kind of goes, I remember in the 1980s, I read about the hyper-C theory, which was one of the newer theories in biology about how we came onto land. And basically what it says is that when we came out of the oceans onto land, we didn't really leave the oceans, we brought them with us. So that's why our bodies are sort of like the ocean water and why these things can live in us like this. And what they see in the ocean, they would have these strong shells protect them because they're just food, like a sausage walking around the bottom of the ocean. Something's going to eat it if it doesn't have a shell. So what happens is in our bodies, since there's no predators like that, the shells become vestigial. So that's the reason why you'll hear people say when they poop out, when they're doing a colon cleanse, or a gut cleanse, you'll see these things that look like rolled up tomato skins kind of, and that is the vestigial shell of the flukes.
I was raised with the saying, "Oh, it was just a fluke." You know,
Yeah.
and when you bring up the fluke as a parasite, well, it was a fluke that this happened, kind of like it was, it just happened to happen. And for instance, what's another word to use? You know what saying I'm talking about? Oh, it was a fluke that happened.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was well, it's just an uneventful, unlikely event. Something that just kind of
Right.
ironically happened that wouldn't normally happen. And
Right. I
Yeah,
think these sayings hold weight, you know.
yeah. There's
So
always a little truth in them. Yeah.
it's like
And
good night, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite.
now the other thing, now that when we get, now you asked the question about how many parasites too. The other thing that I've even, I think I've even read papers on this alluding to this, or whatever, talking, is that we're actually getting more parasite, that there's more parasite species on this planet than there are host species already. Over half the creatures here are parasitizing another creature.
Mm,
And on top of that, a lot of these parasites are so good at what they do that they have these cyst forms, or of course, like the spores in the fungus. They can literally travel through space
yeah,
for
I
God
believe
knows, maybe a million years. They could travel, and then once they hit the atmosphere of a receptive planet where they could, like a petri dish that has good agar and food, then if they hit that, come alive on that planet, and then all of a sudden you got another parasite that's not registered, and you don't have many parasitologists, and nobody's registered. Nobody even knows how many there really are. I don't believe. You can probably
right,
find one. Maybe
right,
in some you can find a parasitologist that's stuck back in the corner somewhere, and his head's probably about this big, and he knows everything about it. But how are you going to find that guy? How can we find
right,
him?
right. How can you get a hold of him without him being compromised already?
Yeah. Well, he kept his head down. That's why he's there, because Paris, because they don't want to know about it. This has been planned for a long time. This is what's going to bring on the zombie apocalypse, the parasitosis. That's what the cooties are. CV cooties. Is parasitosis, and it's what we've learned in the groups is that the parasites always come in a crew, like a motley crew, and they will, you've got your fungus, you've got your bacterias, your protozoas, which the worms actually are protozoa most of the time. That's why the macrophages are so effective at wiping out worms as they go through. As long as they're not adult, they can attack them. Yeah, when they're adult, we pretty much don't have any defense other than the chemicals we can take inside of the substances, herbs, whatever, to kill them after they get so big. But whenever they're in the small form, if we have iodine, and vitamin D, so we have T cells being formed, which you have to have with iodine. Then the T cells activate the GC-MAF with the vitamin D, and then you have macrophages, and the macrophages chase the stuff around and eat it. That's what you want on your team, is somebody that's to chase down the invaders and kill them, eat them. They just eat. They can't eat them.